So we are live with the post-match podcast, and joining me tonight we have CrackerJacker and we have Paul Hassan. Paul, gentlemen, welcome. That was a fun game, didn't you think?
No, I didn't have fun. Oh, I tell you what, I loved that first half, but overall, no. It's just so Liverpool, isn't it? 12 years ago, we were doing that to another team, but now that's exactly the kind of thing I expect other teams to do to us. Do you know, I could sense it straight away when Sevilla hit us right from the off second half. I had a feeling it was going to end up like that. It all just had that air of predictability about it, and unfortunately, this Liverpool team just keep proving me right.
Yeah, this was a weird one. Hassan, let's start off with you. Your thoughts on today's performance, first half, second half. Take us through it.
I think that was a very bad way of getting a good result. I mean, that sort of summarizes it. The first half, I mean, we rode our luck a bit, with those couple of chances within a minute. I'm still trying to understand what Sevilla were trying to do on the corners, actually. I think they were expecting us to play short. So they had everyone play a bit higher up, so in order to catch us offside on the second ball. But that didn't work out at all, and we got 2 goals from that. I think first half, we showed a bit of ruthlessness that we need. I think the difference between today and the Europa League final is that we were 3-0 up this time instead of 1-0, and end up 3-1, 3-0 to 3-3. Second half, we're under the cosh. I think people are a bit too harsh on Moreno on the penalty that was given, though, because I think it was an awful pass from Coutinho, he basically shot it at his feet, and Moreno was trying to handle with it. Sevilla were pressing, and they won the penalty out of that. And then at the end, I think we did well for 20 minutes between the 65th, 70th minute up until like 88th, 90th minute. Then, we could have kept it a bit more in the corner, I think, but, we conceded a goal. It is what it is.
I don't think people are being too harsh on Moreno at all. That penalty, it wasn't a great.
I'm saying that on that penalty, it was a really bad pass. It was a really bad pass, and he was really close to him, and he hit it with power for no reason. No reason.
Sure, I said it wasn't a good pass, but even when he makes that first touch, right after he's done that, there's no need to then kick the guy. That was what gave the penalty away, not Coutinho's pass. He could have just reacting to the ball. He swung a wild leg out. He panicked. He doesn't need to panic. Yeah, it's not a great pass. Yeah, he's lost the ball. Yeah, now he's got to do some defending. But when he's really called on to actually do some defending, he just kicks him. He just swings a leg out and just sees what happens. What happens is we concede a penalty. There are so many other things he could have done there. All right, he might lose the ball. His first touch was atrocious, even if the pass was terrible. And he could have just held firm. He could have just put his body in the way instead of just kicking a leg out, which is what he did. It's the mindless kind of thing that you see him do all the time. And tonight, in my opinion, is on him. Because he can't hack big games. He's done well against Huddersfield, Southampton, and teams like that. But what's the point? Our ambition is to come to places like Seville and win comfortably. And we'd have done that if it wasn't for him. All right, he had some good moments in the first half. There was that great pass to Mane to make it 3-0. But he's never going to get rid of these calamities. And as soon as he made that needless foul on Mercado in the first half and got booked for it, and he was incredulous about it for whatever reason, I think he should have been hooked at half-time. We could see those errors creeping into his game. You could see him starting to panic and crumble again. And then second half kicks off. He makes an awful pass to Lovren. He needlessly pushes a guy over, then bottles the header in defence. Then he needlessly gives away a penalty because he doesn't have the brains either to just hoof the ball when it's coming at him, or just hold his line when his marker, his opposite number, ends up with the ball at his feet. There's no need to do what he did. He single-handedly changed this game for us, and he should have been taken off at least a 3-1. Certainly not a 3-2. Had it been for Not been for that, I think we would have held out. But I think it's on Moreno, and I think it's on Klopp for not bringing him off sooner.
Hassan, respond to that regarding Moreno?
I still like the flaws in this team just go beyond him because he
That's
hooked
true.
him.
Yeah, that is true.
I mean, at the very least, I mean, at the end of the day, we conceded 3 goals. If one guy is going to cost you 3 goals, there's something wrong with the entire side. Like, unless he's a keeper who's just dropping balls into his goal, it can be on one guy. I think we dropped too deep second half. I think our midfield lost control. I think Coutinho as well. Just I'm not sure what he was doing second half. He was just basically trying to dribble past people aimlessly second half, which is why he got hooked. I mean, it's just so frustrating to see that again. But to be fair, thank God Spartak didn't win, or otherwise we'd be in much more, much bigger pressure situation. At least we know that a draw would get us through now. So I think that's the biggest positive from this game, which wasn't related to our game at all as well.
So, I mean, just to quickly go back to that, I think it can be on one guy, especially when that guy is giving away free kicks, which he then fails to defend, and then giving away penalties, which is a direct shot on your goal. That was his fault. For me, he changed the game. Yeah, there were other players who didn't acquit themselves very well. I thought Wijnaldum was anonymous. Lovren and Klavan have come in for a lot of praise this evening. And actually, in the first half, I thought they were quite weak. The Nolito chance, in particular, that Karius had to tip onto the post, fantastic save, really magnificent stop, was because Henderson made a ridiculous challenge in the midfield and Lovren was way out of position. When Ben Yedder knocked that finish just slightly wide to equalise for 1-1, Klavan was way out of position. So yeah, you're right, the entire defence is lacking. But the one player in the defence who had the biggest material effect on our game tonight was Moreno. And as I said, you've really got to look at his performances now, especially in big games like these. He crumbles. And beyond that, yeah, you're right. What a shame that the biggest boon for us is nothing that we did. It's the fact that we had to rely on Maribor to keep Spartak out. That's not evidence of a team that's doing well in Europe. We're really scraping this. And yeah, we can win the group. But as it stands, the only team that we've beaten and since we've qualified for the Champions League has been Maribor. It's not good enough.
In terms of who we're beating in Champions League since 2009, since we lost against Chelsea in the quarterfinals in 2009, we've beaten Debrecen, Ludogorets, and Maribor. Those are the only 3 teams we've won in the Champions League ever since.
Holy shit. Well, to sum up, today's performance, Paul talked about the first half and the chances that we gave away. Paul, you and I were texting a little bit back and forth, and I kind of said that we were lucky to not be 1-1, basically, instead of 2-0. We were 2-0 up. We should have been 1-1, thanks to the Karius save. So, today's result, the 3-3, and overall doesn't surprise me because even in the first half, we gave them 2 very, very good chances to basically open us up. It was a pretty open game, more or less. Sevilla defended terribly from the corners. We defended terribly overall in the second half. Didn't think it was particularly great at all. Again, I just thought that these were 2 flawed teams playing each other. And while I do think that we're actually a better team than Sevilla, I do think Sevilla are a little bit in our head. They seem to be able to. They don't seem to be afraid of us. Even when they're 3-0 down, they're not afraid. They believe that they can come back in the game. So that in itself is one of those things. It's more subconscious than it is a objective. Them objectively being better than us, because I do think we have a better squad than they do. As far as performances go today, we can talk. You guys already touched on Moreno, so I don't really want to go that route. Although I do think that it was, in large part down to him today. us conceding those first 2 goals. And then Wijnaldum, I don't even know what to say. You know, on the forums we have the the ratings thread. Why give him a grade? There's absolutely no reason to give the guy a grade. You should only get a grade when you play. And quite frankly, I don't think he plays. So I'm really not impressed today. Paul, why don't you talk to me a little bit about midfield, because it looked like midfield in the second half really got overrun. Banega was doing his thing. He was basically pulling all the strings in there like he did in the second half of the Europa League game. Talk to me about him.
He's a great player, and just the way he passes the ball is brilliant. He can pass the ball as smoothly as anyone, and he was given the freedom of the pitch in the second half. And you know why I think that was? It was because we took off Coutinho. And that to me is a panic decision. Because, all right, we were 3-0 up, then it went to 3-2. We've got to change something. And Klopp was right to say, right, I need to make a switch here. He made the wrong one. Coutinho should not have come off. You can't take off your best midfielder in a situation like that, especially when that midfielder is the one that actually leads the press. You just mentioned Wijnaldum. Wijnaldum's exactly the problem here, because Wijnaldum doesn't offer anything either at the back or really going forward. He is anonymous. He's simply there. He's not the kind of player who's going to be able to apply the way Klopp wants us to press in any intelligent way. Coutinho does. You saw that all the time in the first half. Sevilla's backline didn't get a moment to themselves. The amount of times he nicked the ball off them and started just gliding forward beautifully with the ball at his feet. That's the kind of thing he offers that Wijnaldum will never offer. And even in the first half, Henderson was worrying me. I said before about that challenge that he tried to make in the midfield before Sevilla nearly equalised and Karius had to make the save. He just swings a leg out. All he needed to do was hold firm, put his body in the way. He's another problem. I don't think he's got the mental strength to slow a game down, and we needed that done at 3-0, actually. When Sevilla came out of the blocks the way they did, we needed to slow the game down there and then. And the only point at which we did that was when Chan came on at 3-2. Henderson doesn't have that in him. Wijnaldum doesn't have that in him. And the only player in the midfield who I wanted to see on the pitch for us in a situation like that was hooked off for no reason that I can discern.
Hassan?
I think second half, the reason why he took off Coutinho was on the right-hand side, there wasn't enough cover for Moreno a bit. I think that was the idea, and I think that Coutinho wasn't good on the ball second half. I think a few times he lost the ball in a bit of a dangerous situation, and we mentioned the pass to Moreno that eventually led to the penalty. Now, would I have taken off Coutinho? No, I would have taken off Wijnaldum, because I don't think, even though the last few minutes actually managed to win the ball back a few times, I think on our right hand side, but yeah, you don't take off Coutinho regardless. And I mean, the good part is Lallana's coming back soon, and I think he is going to be a starter, and he is really the trigger man in that midfield for the press.
So, I guess, where does this leave us now? Because we had a run of some decent games, albeit against some very mediocre opposition. What is the true barometer of this team? I mean, you see, we go against a team like Sevilla, a good team, a team that is pretty strong, doing well in La Liga, doing decently in La Liga, and we can't go and beat them. Now we have a game against Chelsea coming up over this weekend. All of a sudden, all the momentum that we had going into halftime today, after all these weeks, is just gone in a span of 45 minutes. How does this team respond? How does Klopp continue to rework this again, to build confidence back up? Because quite frankly, I could see us possibly losing the game against Chelsea. Paul?
It's not difficult to imagine us losing against Chelsea, definitely not. I mean, you mentioned just a moment ago, what's the barometer of this team? I think we'll know the answer to that question after the Chelsea game. Because it might be that this is just a blip against Sevilla and we really have found our feet. Chelsea, I think, is going to be the real acid test. Can we take on a big team where we are right now and win? It's brilliant to put Southampton to the sword 3-0. I enjoyed that immensely. Same with Huddersfield. I really enjoyed that. But if you can't compete anymore, because we were doing it brilliant last season, but if now this season we can't compete anymore with the top teams, then that really for me is the biggest barometer. In terms of how to instill confidence in this team, it's going to take a transfer window at the very least. You look at Mane, Salah, Firmino. How are you going to instill confidence in them other than simply giving them a competent midfield and defence to work with? And Lovren, Klavan, players like that, Moreno as well. Confidence isn't their only issue. It comes down to pure ability, and they lack so much of that. We need, at this point, to put ourselves in a situation where we've got to paper over these cracks a bit, find a way of bringing the best out of the amazing forward line we've produced for ourselves, and patch things up from January onwards.
Hassan, so how do we go in 3-0 into the half and then come out basically looking scared? How does that happen?
I don't think we were scared. I think Sevilla made us scared, and I think we were complacent. In a way, I think we were better off drawing today going into the Chelsea game, because I think had we won today, I'm pretty sure we wouldn't have won on Saturday. That's the thing with this team. It's they when they get overconfident, they just lose it against any side that puts them under pressure. As for today, I think, well, for one, the Sevilla fans were just carried that team over the line, I think, at the end. And I mean, we don't deal with pressure well. We just don't. And I mean, I'm just glad we shouldn't face Sevilla this season anymore. I mean, unless we somehow end up in some round in the Champions League together, we shouldn't face them anymore and just move on from that chapter in our lives. But I think this team just, and we've seen it over and over again, when this team is put under pressure, they just crumble. And today was another example of that. I'm not sure what else to say, really.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those things that's really perplexing, because I just don't understand that you can be right on top, the game is comfortable, and we don't have a change of gear. We play at one speed. We can't slow it down at all. We can't readjust, refocus anything in terms of controlling a game. So that to me is a real problem, and that to me falls on the manager. Again, I don't want to relitigate the idea about Jurgen Klopp and his suitability for this club, because it's again, I'm not in the camp of he needs to go, but you got to ask questions of the manager in these kinds of games. So far, we played, I think, Sevilla twice. Those have been our two big games in the Champions League. We played Man City and we played Tottenham. We beat Arsenal, of course. But we've really not performed in big games at all this season. So clearly something is wearing off in terms of that, the magic touch that Klopp used to have in these big games. And if we can't pull it together, I don't know what's going to happen in the next round should we qualify, because it doesn't look likely that we're going to make any kind of a dent going forward. And again, as Paul said earlier, with this Chelsea game coming up on the weekend, this will be the true acid test of this team. Will we be able to take a scalp off a big team this season that's playing well? So that's something that really needs to be seen. Let's talk a little bit about Chelsea. What are your expectations for this weekend, Paul?
I don't know what to say when people ask me what to expect from Liverpool, because look at our results. They're so inconsistent. You can never predict how Liverpool are going to get on. It's going to be really tough. Chelsea are the reigning champions, one of the best teams in England, one of the best teams in Europe. And they'll have looked at tonight and thought, if we can find a way to hamper Mane, hamper Salah, and hamper Firmino, we've got a great chance. I don't know whether they'll achieve that. We've obviously got something about us. We've got enough about us to worry them. But I certainly think they're going to be able to come to Anfield with a plan to make sure that we don't get the better of them. And I hope that we manage to outthink them. But at this point, the way things have been going this season, it doesn't feel likely to me.
Hassan?
I'm expecting Klopp to change the formation, actually. I think he might return. There might be a return of the 4-2-2, which we had against West Ham. And I think Oxlade-Chamberlain might start because we might consider to double up on the wings to get their wing backs pushed back. But I mean, again, in a weird way, I'm a bit more optimistic about Saturday because we didn't win today. I had a similar feeling after we lost the Villarreal semi-final in the Europa League that I felt that they were better off drawing against us going into the second leg than winning against us. That's just how bizarre this team is. Like, there's no explanation for it.
You're saying we're reactionary. That's what you're saying.
Not reactionary. I'm not sure. There's no precedent. Then again, there's nothing like Liverpool. No team does tortures fans quite like Liverpool in recent years. And I just wanted to say something about the second half today. I think looking at Mercado and look at even Banega, two guys who are on yellow cards, and I think had they been pushed a bit, they would have gotten sent off. And I think that's something we don't have in this team. Like, no one would ever put themselves in a position to get someone sent off from the other. No one winds anyone up in our team. And I mean, we lack personality, and that showed in the second half. I think that's the downfall of this team. We just don't have any personality.
You mean someone who is sort of the emotional leader of this team? Is that what you're trying to indicate?
I mean, beyond the only guy who has a bit of nastiness in him, someone who knows how to wind up people is actually Chan, and he did that on the throw-in. And I think when we were sending ball onto the corner, Mercado was trying to mark someone. If you just make him push, wind him up a bit, he might have made something stupid because he was mad for 90 minutes and he looked like he lost it, and no one tried to push him over the line. Had he been sent off, had we forced something out of him, they lose momentum instantly.
I mean, it's something about the lack of guile. We don't have anyone with that edge of gamesmanship in their play. But one of the things I think we also lack is a midfielder whose main strength isn't running with the ball. We need someone behind the midfield too. So Coutinho and whoever else it is, maybe hopefully Lallana, who just knows how to slow a game down and set the tempo and just pass, consistently find teammates. We don't have that. I don't even think Naby Keita is going to be there. He's too much of a box-to-box for me. So even after the summer, we're still going to need someone to come in and teach this midfield how to control the game. That's another thing that we genuinely lack.
I just want to say I completely agree. Keita isn't that player. And there's no point of playing Keita like that. Which is why when people say, well, we'll just sign Goretzka and Keita together, I'm like, no, that just work.
They're too similar.
Won't work. Not only are they too similar, none of them sets the tempo. And I absolutely agree. We don't have anyone who sets the tempo in our team. And that's also an issue. But I'm saying we don't have anyone. Like, we don't have a Graham Souness. We don't have a character who's just going to make the opposition mad. We don't have a Sergio Ramos who knows how to get on your nerves. We don't have anyone who does that in the team.
We don't have anybody in our team who's a legitimate dick, is what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe every single successful side, maybe in history, had at least one dickhead.
You're not wrong necessarily. Even teams, outside this game, you need someone who sets the emotional response of the team. And there doesn't seem to be anyone in this team. Obviously, you maybe look. I don't even think Gerrard was like that. Who in terms of being able to, maybe against Herrera, about it. But I don't even think Gerrard was like that. Carragher was like that. At least maybe he wouldn't be. Maybe gamesmanship wasn't too much there, but certainly you follow that person emotionally. They get you going, and nobody in this team has that attitude. Nobody seems to have that ability to do it.
And
Mascherano used to have it, but a lot of players actually had it in that old team. I mean, even Pepe Reina, his personality was larger than life in many ways when he was on the pitch. So again, he wasn't an outfield player, but you could certainly, he was one of the stalwarts in that Rafa Benitez team. So yeah, it's a weird one, that second half. I'll have to rewatch it because I didn't get the chance to watch the whole thing continuously. So I'll have to rewatch it, especially the early parts, because I was out at the time. So I would want to see how we actually devolved from being 3-0 up into being shit scared and eventually capitulating in the end. And if all things, it just had to happen right at the end too, and it was a kick in the balls. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not too upset about this, I guess, because to some degree I'm not surprised. Do you guys have any final thoughts you guys want to add? Hassan?
I still think we'll qualify. I mean, a win and we get first place. Somehow we can still win this group despite not, showing up for most of the games, besides Maribor. And yeah, hopefully, I think Saturday we might see some adjustments. Hopefully Matip will be back, and I think Lallana will be back on the bench. So, I mean, we're still technically on a run in the league. And considering position Champions League, that was more important.
Paul?
I'm disappointed about the result and the performance. I agree. I still think we'll qualify, but I look at a capitulation like this and it makes me wonder, who are we going to outplay out of the teams that remain in this competition? I can't see anyone. And there are some, if we finish top of the table, we stand to play something like Bayern Munich, Juventus, a really top team like that. I don't see how we're going to get the better of them when we can't even get this right. It's a really worrying sign. And so I've been left feeling like we are going to qualify. I'm not worried about the fact that I'm not worried about whether or not we're going to qualify. But I think if we do, I don't think it goes a great deal further. As for Saturday, yeah, hopefully we'll have Matip back. The sooner Lallana comes back in, the better, because too many players in our midfield are just passengers. Lallana adds real spark. If we can somehow miraculously put Lallana in the midfield from the first whistle on Saturday afternoon, I would do that in a heartbeat, because I think that would give us our best chance of controlling the game.
Yeah, I'm not too optimistic on the formation change, actually. I think it'll be more of a personnel change. Maybe Milner comes into, well, hopefully Andy Robertson gets a start. I don't know what's happened to him. Pointless signing of the season so far, considering he wasn't on the bench today as well. But yeah, let's see what happens. Moreno certainly should be taken out of, should not be playing the next couple of games at least after this. Really, really problematic. But anyways, we'll pick this up over on after Saturday. Hopefully it'll be a win. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me. I know it's a little bit late for you guys, and it's certainly not exactly enjoyable to talk after what you saw. But thanks again, and we'll pick this up.
Great.
Yeah.
Chat soon.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.